Let's put 5 units in.
That decision has been made. After we make decisions, we move on.
Did you hear that? Counters? Oh, yeah, it was quite hard for people to work outside. People used to live in rain where it's that. Yeah, I forgot it was everyday life. Dust off the rain jacket.
He just said he lives at the top of Jack's Lane. Okay. Okay, we are ready to call our special meeting of council to order of September 26th. It was initially set for 4 p.m. because we knew we'd have a long committee of the whole and we just wanted to roll right into this. And yeah, no, it wasn't going to happen at 4 p.m., but I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:14 p.m. And we're honored to be gathered here on the traditional territories of the Squamish Nation. And first we have to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? That motion carries. And we have a special announcement that, I'm very sorry to be making this announcement, that our Director of Finance is retiring. And how many years has it been at the town? 14 years. Like, yeah, Lorraine's been our foundation here. And I even worked with Lorraine at the school district before that, where she was my foundation there. So I'm still struggling with what we're going to do without her. At least she's staying in the community, and we won't be pestering her too much, but it'll be good to see you still around. Yeah, not too much, I said. So yeah, we really, I mean, the whole community appreciates all the service and work that you've done for the town in these years, and just coming back from UBCM too. I even heard from other communities who appreciate the advice and leadership you've provided to other communities in British Columbia too. So it's a great loss, but it's a great gain for you to enjoy your retirement. So thank you. Bylaws we have now. Oh, Lorraine. Your last chance to shine. This is just that permissive property tax exemption bylaw number 1309 be given second and third readings. We've already discussed this extensively in past first reading, and council made a decision that this would be a 1-year extension of these exemptions. And I see moved by Councillor DeAndrade, seconded by Councillor Kroll. Any discussion? All those in favor? The motion carries. And now we have an administration report regarding 709-711 Gibsons Way. And this is an opportunity for the property owner and the chief building official to be heard prior to consideration of a notice on title for these properties, which is on item 5.2 and pages 7 to 15 of our agenda. So first, since this is a time for the chief building official to be heard on this, I'll look to Jason to introduce this report and discuss the situation. Thanks.
Sure, yeah, thank you. So the report was a brief summary as to what has transpired at this property, but there's much more information that could be provided upon request. But to summarize, it's being brought to town's attention of some compliance issues with the building, both past and present. The present being some work to the exterior that was done, which the owner had applied for a permit, but it expired, or the application expired. So there's a new application that's been submitted. But I think the reason that it's not gone anywhere is a disagreement as to what's required as part of the permit. That's one issue, but the other issues are multiple units within the building being constructed or occupied without the necessary permits, which could have some safety concerns. And there have been other concerns brought to the town regarding these issues too. So my recommendation is to place a notice on title to alert any potential buyer that there are compliance issues with the building, and shows that the town is responding to the concerns. So more details can be provided if required.
Okay, well, we might want to ask you some questions later on too. Do we have any questions right off here? I guess, I have a general one. What are we, I know you've been working with this property owner for a while and over this matter, and I'm just wondering what are we really looking for what kind of action are we looking for from the property owner right now to keep this moving along and not have a notice on title?
Sure. There's been ample opportunity for compliance through permits, but there's been resistance to the requirements, which mostly are we're asking for registered professional sign-off for the work that's done. And there's multiple reasons for that. The way I interpret the building right now is as a 4-story building, which would put it as a Part 3 building, requiring registered professional sign-off. If it is determined that it's only a 3-story building, which it could be if a registered professional or at least someone can show us that it is, and there's a calculation that can be done, and it's using definitions in the code of grade and first story. And it's a bit complicated if you're not familiar with the process, but there's a way to determine whether something is 3-story or 4-story. I've asked for drawings to show that, but I haven't gotten that. We have drawings, recent drawings from 2020, I think, or 2021, but it doesn't show grade elevations in relation to first story. So I can't make that calculation. I'm asking for that calculation to be provided. But all that does is determine whether or not sprinklers would be required for the residential units that are being added or are already there, but to approve those sprinklers by building code should be required. If it's determined it's only a 3-story, all that means is no sprinklers are required. But I'm still asking for registered professional sign-off because the work that was done is covered up. So I don't want to sign off on something I can't see. Therefore, I'm asking for a registered professional to come in. If they want to sign off on it and show me why, then that's something we can accept. The other reason is the Architects Act states that any building with more than 5 residential units requires a registered professional or registered architect sign-off. So can't see the things they've covered up. Architects Act says so, and right now I'm saying the building code says so, unless they can determine it's a 3-story building, but they still need the registered professional sign off, because I don't want to sign off something I can't see.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I don't think that covers it, I think, for questions I had for our chief building official. Would the property owner like to address council?
Thank you. We've objected,
Oh, and sorry, please identify yourself too, just for,
pardon?
could you please identify yourself for the record too?
Vern Stromkins from Surrey.
Thanks.
I've owned the building for about 20 years, I guess.
Could we move the mic a bit closer?
I've owned the building about 20 years, and I had the carpet store there, and I had the paint store there, and eventually closed those down and just became a landlord, you might say. From what I can understand is that the building was built 52 years ago, approximately. It was built in 3 stages. Firstly, a small store, a carpet store. Then they added a 2nd floor in the back, and then they put another section on the upper side of it. And during that time, there was always 2 residentials on the 1st floor. I've heard noise from Jason that the the units under the main floor were not in code, but they were built a long time ago, and I'm sure the city and the councilors at that time had the reasons for approving it. As far as the Class 3 building, it's never been viewed that way for 52 years. Previous inspectors always said that we didn't need a permit to fix the siding, and it was like 25 feet of it that we had to fix. It was leaking. At the time, there was no building inspector here in town, so we had to do it. And we took the siding off. We found there's stucco under it. Under that, there was vines growing, pushing the stucco out, and that was what caused the leaking. We started putting the siding back, and Jason came down at that time from Sheeshelt, and it was half done. So he did observe what was happening, and I specifically asked, can we finish this? And he said, yeah, we have to stop the leaking. And then there was 2 small decks that are just on with lag bolts, and we perceived that those were dangerous. They've been there forever, but somebody that's overweight goes on there, it could crash. So I wanted to take those off because they were just unbolting them. And so he said, go ahead, but make sure the door is secure. Well, we did that, and we took the door out actually and put egress windows there, double pane, in the same spot. So there was no issue as far as I was concerned. Then when Jason came down here, he suddenly decided that this building was now a Class 3 building with 4 stories. Well, I only count 3, and it's never been that, so obviously I'm not just going to roll over and say, okay, I got to get all this stuff now because it's now Class 3. I don't know it's Class 3. He's never proved it was Class 3. It's his opinion. So I didn't go along with that. As for other units on the building, there was some work done. Chester was the building inspector at the time, and he was fully informed and also checked all the time. And as it was going, we were actually replacing what was taken down a number of years ago, apparently, to expand the area of the commercial. And we were told that, by putting the doors back and the odd little wall back, that it was actually making the building safer because there would be otherwise there was a couple of panels, electrical panels in the open area, and it would be dangerous because if you shut one off and forget to do the other, somebody could get electrocuted. So we did that, and he was there all the whole time, and so we ended back with the four units, and we had like 2 of those were residential all along from day one. So when it was pointed out to us that our building specifically was designated in the OCP as work-live, and then subsequently ratified, then as far as I was concerned, oh, that's great. They just proved what was already there. And so I didn't have an issue with that. To him to request that we have an engineer come and sign off on something that's already done is ridiculous, because no engineer worth his salt is going to do that unless he was involved in the whole thing. Now, if he asked us to take it down and re-put it back up so he could see it all through the whole process, I wouldn't have had too much of objection to that. But I think there's precedent on that sort of thing where if you did that, then, and it's done right, then the city would have to eat the bill. So I may be wrong in objecting to what Chester has, Jason has requested, but I didn't believe what he was saying. I also asked him what was the definition of work-live, and he told me that it was commercial, and then above that you have residential. Well, according to your situation and on Zone 2, it was to provide flexibility for small business and also to allow for the reuse of existing commercial and industrial buildings, not the remanufacture or reconstruct them. And that's where my issue is with this designation of Class 3. It creates a huge extra bill. Like, I've been trying to make this a better place to live for the tenants. I've put new IKEA kitchens in many of the units, new flooring, paint. We put a new roof on the warehouse. Actually changed the hydro so that the warehouse had its own power, because we were getting some brownouts and too much power draw. And because it seemed to be still doing that, because of the modern day appliances, electric, it's not the same as it was 50 years ago. So I decided this last spring, to upgrade the electrical by from 400 amps to 600 amps. Cost me like $40,000. Doesn't improve my rent or anything, but it does, I think, show that I'm interested in upgrading the building, and you shouldn't be putting a notice on title, because that's a very dramatic thing. You know, it makes it so I can't borrow money, could infect my insurance. Those are major things. Like, especially if the notice is just a very general thing and you don't even know what you're getting penalized for, and it's not supposed to be a penalty. Now, if somebody was to put a notice on title and say you had to do this and this to get it off, that makes sense. You can still borrow money, but because the bank or the lender would just carve off that as not ready to finance, right? So, and I've been a commercial lender all my life. You know, if I get a building with a notice on title on it and it's not specific, I won't finance it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what my risks are. Do you have any further questions?
See, looking to Councilor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. to, so the building that was originally the DeVries Carpet Store warehouse, and then it became your carpet business. I think you had a carpet business in that building.
I bought the one that was there before.
So what is the warehouse being used for now?
Right now, it's got a Sprinter in it.
So it's just a garage?
Yeah, it's a Sprinter delivery person. They bring the stuff, the stuff here from Vancouver, and they distribute it to, it's a courier company.
Okay. You know, I appreciate your concern with a notice on title, but, you know, as things evolve in the community, we've had a number of properties where work has been done on buildings that wasn't permitted, that, you know, that wasn't inspected, and then new owners have come along and bought the property, and now they're having to pay the piper. You know, we've got people who bought residences that had, you know, outbuildings that were being rented out. They converted them to residential guest accommodation. When we brought in a new bylaw, they were suddenly caught because nothing was compliant. You know, I appreciate from your point of view that a notice on title is a bit onerous, but, you know, if you decided to sell the building tomorrow, a new person would be totally unaware of the concerns that have been brought to us with respect to, you know, the building department. Like, if, you know, you referenced the fact that there was a period we didn't have a building inspector, but even during that period, if you had requested a permit for something, we would have ensured that it was properly inspected. So I would, you know, I would move that the...
Councillor Kroll, I just want to give everyone a chance to ask. I think you're starting to get into the motion and the debate.
Can I reply to that?
The question, sure, yeah. I don't think we should be having a debate between the property owner and council, but answer the question, sure.
Well, during the period where we didn't have the building inspector, it was only that one issue there. The other stuff that was done 4 and 5 years ago was inspected all the time by Chester. He was there all the time. And also, when the next guy took over, he said, well, there's really very, very few records as far as what the history of this building was, what happened to it. He says, can you do us a favor and do as-is plans so we have a base from which to work? So I did that. It cost quite a few $1,000s. And also doing a site plan. So it's not a, you know, if you're putting a general thing on title that is very, very onerous and doesn't give you an opportunity to correct it, it's a permanent thing that stays there. Whereas if you say, okay, we have to fix this, that's different.
Okay, I hear your position on that, and I've got another councillor who has a question. I wanted to ask, though, too, so the previous building inspector, you're saying it was only about 5 or 6 years ago that work was done, and I mean, obviously in those...
Putting it back to what it was.
In those days, email was always already ubiquitous, and people were lots of communications happened, so... is there any documentation that you have that of kind of the interpretation of that time? Is it being a 3-story building and
Well, it was always
the inspector being okay with the work, or?
Yeah, there was no question as far as the needing a permit to do the siding. During Chester's time there, I rain screened the whole front of the building.
But there's no, I'm just asking about documentation, like there was no letter or email or anything saying.
He talked to
Great,
my project manager, because he was on site. I was never on site, so.
Okay. Councillor Lumley.
I guess through the mayor, is Chester, why wouldn't, you're looking for a sign off on the work that was done, essentially. Is Chester qualified? If he was there all the time, why wouldn't you just get Chester to now sign off on it and then get the calculation, whether it's a class 3 or class 4? Those are the two things, right? Basically? Is that right?
I think, yeah, that's kind of what I was asking too, like, why wasn't there any documentation of the, but I know our chief building official wants to.
Yeah, if I could address some of those things that were said. The siding, I'll address that quickly. That was when I was working here 1 day a week, helping out from the SCRD, filling in for the vacant spot. And there was a report came in of some work being done on the building, which ended up being the siding, which I did go on site and I did stop them. And I believe Vern was there, his colleague or associate, and the contractor. And I told them they have to stop. I think they had scaffolding in the laneway they had to get additional permits for. I told them, protect the building. I always tell people if I have to stop something, I still want to make sure the building is protected from the weather and the elements. So I said, paper up, building paper. That's exactly what I said. Building paper up, protect it, safe out the area, don't complete the siding without a permit. A permit was applied for, in which I said, okay, you need these additional things, which at the time was structural engineer or someone to sign off on the siding, not because the siding, because they had removed, is that?
You might actually be the first person to be too close to the microphone.
Okay. How about that?
Yeah.
They removed decks. I have before and after pictures where there are balconies that are exit points, doors leading to balconies, and they have removed the decks. That's structural. I wasn't the one who said, go ahead and remove the decks. In speaking to Vern on multiple occasions, he told me the previous inspector said, oh yeah, those look dangerous. Do me a favor and remove them. There's no record of that. I never said that. I never would say that. They have been removed. They need structural engineer. You said that another inspector said that, Vern. Okay? I would never say that. That's sketchy. They were removed. That needs structural engineering. In addition to the siding being removed, it was reinstalled before the permit was issued. I didn't get to inspect it. I don't like how it was installed. The registered professional that you hired to come and look at it did also not want to sign off on it. It was Chester. Chester said, this needs to be redone. It's not done properly. There's no rain screen. It's done improperly. It's poorly constructed. I agree. I'm not signing off on it. The other thing was the existing suites that you say have been there for years. I have 3 permits. One was canceled because it was denied for a dwelling unit in the bookstore, which I believe is still just a bookstore. But that was denied to have a unit in there. But I've got other permits for suites within the building, with drawings showing the suites within the building, not residential, but 2017, we've got drawings. They don't show them as being residences. The as-built drawings that you've supplied, or the owner has supplied, shows them with residences now. So from 2017, sometime after those permits were issued or denied, there have been changes to the building that I have drawings, evidence of. So they haven't been there forever, and if they have, the drawings that were submitted in 2017 were falsified. So something's wrong there. That's the evidence I have for that. The drawings that you supplied recently, the owner supplied recently, show it as being a 4-story building, not only in drawings, but written on it in multiple places. 1 story, first story, second story, like all the way to 4 stories. It shows it as 4 stories. The BC assessment has it down as 4 stories. My building code interpretation has it as 4 stories until proven otherwise. Chester did review some of the suites or with permits. One on the main level, but it was for drywall repair. And that permit, it's unclear whether it was closed out due to expiry or completion, because the last report was about the drywall, so there's no final. There is a unit on the lower level that may be one that has been there for years as a residence. It's not supposed to because the zoning doesn't permit residential below grade. It permits residential above grade, above the story at grade facing the street. So residential is really only permitted above where the carpet store used to be or where Venus Bones is now, above that, so the two top stories. And then perhaps the unit behind Venus Bones, because if you think about it, coming around Weingart, it's above commercial at grade. So that is only really the units on the two upper floors and one at the back, maybe. The one on the lower level that maybe has been there for years, there was a permit for to renovate it a little bit, the existing. Whether or not that permit should have been issued, I think it was, okay, it's already here, make it better. But the drawings for that permit are substantially different from the drawings we have now, in that it was a 1-bedroom, and now the drawing showed it as a 4-bedroom, and the kitchen was moved completely to the other side of the unit. Totally need permits for that. If an engineer is not willing to sign off on it because they have concerns, neither am I. So that's my point on that. Being at part 3,
I think this was just to answer a question.
yeah, part 3,
right?
it's redundant because I'm going to ask for registered professional anyway. And notice on title isn't as scary as everyone thinks. It's just to let people know there's something going on. And if the information's not there and someone's concerned about it, call the town of Gibsons and ask, and we'll tell you, hey, there's units that were done without permits. That's all it is. I think a lender would be okay to hear that too.
Sir?
Further to that, a notice on title is removed once compliance is achieved.
Though when we make the notice on title, then does council need to define what compliance is? Because it sounds, that'd be hard to do in this case. It sounds like there's a lot of issues.
No, the notice doesn't give specifics. It just alerts someone to contact the town because there are concerns.
Right. Okay. Councillor DeAndrade?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification, when the building inspector is saying, they say, Chaz said that and I said that, is it just verbal or it is exchange in some sort of a email or something? Or letter, whatever is
I
the.
think that was laid out pretty well. I mean, our chief building official talked about when I said that versus when there are actually applications that have actually are on file here that have come in and were
Okay, so there is no,
rejected or abandoned and things.
There is
I mean, those
nothing.
were- No, it sounds like there is. I heard that, but I don't know if we want to repeat it. We've got other, Councillor Thompson?
Just a quick one. In the 2017 drawings to the current drawings, was there a change in the number of units, or was it just within the units and walls, exterior walls, et cetera?
Yes, there was changes to the number of units and walls. So whether it was adding residential units or just splitting up other units to be other commercial units, definitely there shows a difference in the drawings. And I won't know if the 2017 drawings were accurate at the time, but all I have is the drawings, and there's no other evidence or documentation of any inspector saying that it go ahead and that's what I want you to do, or it's okay. There's no record of that I can find.
Yes, the basement suite was actually a new suite, 3-bedroom. Chester, when we were in the office here one day, said, could you please do that? Because we just need that space. We need the units. So we did it. And during that process, we discovered a huge cement block in the unit. So it's just Chester said, well, just put the kitchen on the other side. And that was it.
Councillor Kroll.
I don't really have anything to add to this, but as the corporate officer said, the notice on title is just to alert people, and it's removed when compliance is achieved, so I would like to move the recommendation. I think we need to support our building department and planners.
Is there a second for that at this point, Councillor Thompson? Any discussion on this? I want to, raise one point, which is I've been through lots of notices on title, especially at the Sunshine Coast Regional District over the years. It comes up there a lot. I've never actually heard this concern that it can affect insurance or lending or anything. And I believe even the last time that this was discussed, people were able to continue on with their projects, and that's even people can get into compliance. I also want to say though that that whole concept of like live workspace and reusing industrial commercial buildings, that's in our own OCP. That language, I gather, yeah. Or is it an old one? I wanted to ask staff about this.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so there is intention of use. So it does, the OCP does envision mixed-use development with small businesses to incorporate living quarters, but it doesn't speak to doing that in existing buildings. So the use is intended, but the zoning also does not reflect what the OCP has envisioned for this area. So a zoning amendment or a variance to change to allow residences on the ground level would be required.
Councillor Lumley?
Yeah, we did.
You're too close now.
We did that across the street, right? Like right across the street. That was Michelle, right? From she did an application to live on the ground floor down there. So it's been done. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea. Especially again, SCRD experience, our landfill's filling up, and a huge amount of that is from our construction industry, like completely tearing down buildings and putting everything in a landfill. And I think I commend anyone who's trying to reuse an older building, and because it's ultimately it's more sustainable no matter how it's done, and I think in addition is going to be more affordable to anybody as well. So I think that's something we should be encouraging, but it needs to be done safely, and it needs to be done. I think there are pathways to do this, as Councillor Lumley just brought up, that we can pursue that follow permits and have professionals actually officially sign off on the work. So it's, I do find this is just a problematic situation where we don't, it sounds like the only paper trail we have is either kind of unresolved or they were permits that were rejected, or it would be good if, it would be a lot easier if some of these communications that were had with the past building inspector were actually resolved in some kind of writing to be able to go back to that. I think so. I think we do need to support this request for a notice on title, and but I do think I do want to encourage our staff and you as a property owner to work together to try to accomplish what you are trying to do here, which is accomplish some live work space, which can be affordable for the town, for residents of the town who really need this kind of housing, and be safe. So
We were working with Katie right now.
Great.
Before. So why would he put a title thing on title when we're already negotiating and working?
Well, it's good, there's a pathway to get the title off, the notice on title off then. That would be it, working with Katie and working with our building inspector. All right, so I'll call the question. I see no other hands up. All those in favor? Motion carries. Very good at work. Keep working with our staff on this. And, I'd like to see this notice on title removed. And we've got a motion to close now regarding litigation or potential litigation affecting a municipality, which is Community Charter, Section 91G. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Lumley. All those in favor? The motion, we need more than that. All those in favor? The motion carries.